Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
It is hard to believe that we are now into August.
I can't believe it either.
Where did summer? I mean, we are 2/3 of the way through summer.
I mean, it always flies by, right? I mean, you remember as a teacher, like it just disappears. You don't know what happened to it. So today, of course we pre-recorded this, but today is my first day back to work. So you've been working all summer.
Yes, I have.
And now me and my family, who all work in the same district, have to go back to work.
Well, welcome back.
So fun, another start to another year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, so now that you are back to work, but you spend a fair amount of time in, hanging out with your wife. And would you say that you spend more time with your wife during the summer or less time with your wife during the summertime than when school's in session?
Probably more. This year is a little different because over the summer I was still working on a master's degree, so and she was too. So we were pretty busy, but I still think it's a little bit more. Right. When we still have time during the day that we see each other. It doesn't usually happen at night. Oftentimes as teachers, we're exhausted. And so, while we may be in the same room or rooms, we're not necessarily making a lot of connections. So just kind of tired and ready to go to sleep. Sometimes it's late nights, right? Because there's evening events or things like that. And since we're at different levels and different schools, it's just the different schedules.
Sure.
So, yeah, but I think over the summer, it's nice we definitely get some vacation time, like we've talked about. We definitely went on and did some of that, but, yeah. Well, I still think that on the whole, it's more.
Okay. Well, the reason why I ask is that, and I find that because my schedule is a lot different, I'm spending more time at home. And so Sherry and I are engaging more.
Right.
And so as a result, we're having more time together.
Sure.
And
hopefully that's a good thing.
Well, yes. And that's the idea. The idea, but sometimes it may not always be good to have, sometimes when you spend so much time together, when you're not used to it,
sure,
it might create some problems, boundary issues and stuff like that. I'm used to doing it this way, and now you want to do it that way because you're here and you don't like it that way. Those kinds of things.
Exactly.
And so it got me exploring the idea of is that a sign that maybe your relationship is not as secure as maybe you thought it would be?
I don't know.
And so then I started exploring and digging into things that might cause you to feel insecure in your relationship.
Okay.
And so I thought maybe today we could explore a little bit on what some of those issues are and basically ways to how to stop feeling insecure in your relationship.
Sure. That sounds good.
Okay. So I think that all of us have self-doubt. Did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's times in my life where I've had more of that than other times. But definitely, it's still something that comes up frequently, especially if I'm making like big decisions.
Okay. Well, one of the things that dealing in, working now full time as a professional therapist, my reading has changed quite a bit. And so I ran across some stuff. And one of the things that they say, the first thing you ought to do is to pause.
Okay.
Then breathe and begin a little self-reflection. When you're feeling like, oh, well, my partner they hate me, or, well, I feel them pulling away, or whatever the issue might be, that you're feeling you're feeling insecure.
Okay.
first thing to do is just stop. Not stop the feeling, not stop the thought process. Just kind of stop where you're at, breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and then begin to self-reflect. All right. Ask yourself, why are you feeling this way? Are you angry, or are you jealous, or are you frustrated? All right. Try and figure out what is really bothering you. What is the heart of what's causing that immediate feeling? And decide, okay, why are you trying to blame your partner?
Right.
Because is it deflection? Are you blaming them when in truth it's you? And so I thought it was, and for me, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, yeah. How many times do I get frustrated? And a lot of times that frustration, especially when I get frustrated with Sherry, am I mad with her or am I upset with me? Am I angry? Well, why am I angry? Is it that I set an expectation that was unreal? Did I set an expectation that they should be just like me, think like me, act like me? Which, while I think is a good idea, it's also
Sure.
realistic. And I'd say that tongue in cheek because I don't want people to be like me.
People
maybe
are
drive
individuals,
like me,
right?
but yeah.
They need to be themselves.
Yes. And then, of course, you get into jealousy. And when you start looking at, okay, are you jealous? And jealousy is such an evil, nasty, but yet very present part of our reaction.
Right.
And then, of course, there's frustration. And sometimes a lot of that frustration is tied to either anger or jealousy.
I feel like you can have all of those in one moment.
I think you can. I think I have them at various degrees all the time. But the idea is to, before you start engaging brain of, well, my partner is cheating on me, my partner hates me, my partner, whatever, start looking a little deeper into what's causing those feelings.
Sure.
And so I thought, oh my gosh. And it ties into something else that I have truly come to do. Not as often as I should, but the whole thing is to stop, think, and listen.
Yeah.
And listen to what you're saying. And so I like this. And so when you're feeling this way, and this is, I think, a good idea whenever you're feeling a negative emotion.
Right.
When you're feeling, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's with your kids or your spouse, whatever it is, whatever's driving you to those very strong negative feelings, stop and think and listen.
Sure.
And so I thought that was a great way to start on this reflection of, why do you feel that you are having an insecure relationship with your significant other?
Okay.
So then when you're doing that, other parts of things or other concepts or ideas to consider is, are you focusing on something that's present, or is it something that ties to an old argument, an old fight, an old wound?
So just hanging on to something from the past is what you're saying?
I think so, yeah. And because, I mean, if you're worried about past mistakes, all right, how many times do past mistakes come to the present?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm going, oh, crap, that actually does happen a lot. And so the idea of going, okay, stop, think, and listen. And when you're listening to yourself, ask yourself, are your fears, your anxieties tied to right now, or is it because of something that has happened in the past, in a past relationship, in a past argument?
Okay. Is the past thing unresolved, or was it resolved and I'm still just reflecting on it?
Probably a bit of both. Because think about this. Even if you've resolved it, have you really resolved it? Or have you just resolved it enough, put a Band-Aid on it, put it in a box, and shoved it to the back of your brain? And then, boom, something comes up, and it reopens that box, and you're going, oh, you remember when? You remember that old girlfriend? You remember that old boyfriend? You remember that time in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that, with my wife and I, that we resolve things and move on and don't go back. But I do think there's been a few times in our years that, some of the same things come up again, and we have to, deal with it again. And it's frustrating, especially if you're the one who committed the infraction in the relationship. But it's, you just have to work through those things. So, but you do need to recognize, is that the problem?
Well, and you're right. You got to recognize that this is a problem. And, if you never fixed or came to a healthy resolution of the past event, then it'll always continue to come forward. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is maybe we need to address that issue.
Yeah.
Because that issue keeps popping back up, causing you to feel the emotions that are causing distress in your relationship, that insecurity that you feel.
Right. Things don't just go away.
No. And I'm discovering more and more as I'm working more full-time as a therapist, that's really what's going on, is a lot of times past events that we did not resolve successfully and healthily keep coming back different ways, but yet it's kind of the same story, just a different title.
Sure.
And so I thought, okay, very good. Again, you're kind of you're listening to yourself. Then as you're going through this, when you're dealing with your issues of maybe jealousy, frustration, you're projecting that on a current event.
Right.
Okay. Do you then feel that your defensiveness is basically, how about this? Why are you feeling defensive?
Sure.
Because it is natural to feel defensive, I think. Why'd you do it that way? Of course, then you're using the absolute statements. You always and you never. Okay. Now, I know we've talked about that quite a few times.
Things, yes.
And I desperately try to avoid those statements in conversations that I have. And so again, when somebody is accused, makes a statement that it sounds like an accusation to you, it is natural to feel defensive. All right. Mm-hmm. But why are we feeling defensive?
So what you're talking about is actually called, if I'm understanding it right, what you're talking about would be a negative presupposition, right? So
yes.
You're talking about something where I'm presupposing that you didn't do something that I expected you to do, and I'm gonna reflect that back on you, which of course is going to make you mad, and not solve the problem. Right? Whereas what we want to do instead, I think, is have a positive presupposition, right? We want to assume that the person did do the thing and ask the question in a different way that assumes that they did do it. And that has a different effect. Probably doesn't piss you off quite as much. And allows you that opportunity to say, well, no, I didn't do it that way, but maybe I could think about that. So there's it's just a different approach. But I think as humans, right, we default to the accusation and the, you didn't do it my way.
Yes.
Kind of thing. And it takes, believe it or not, like I think it takes effort to make that switch.
Well, in essence, it's self-regulation, emotional self-regulation. And so many times that is hard for us to do. I know it's hard for me, especially when I'm driving.
Sure.
And I found...
I can see that when I'm driving behind you.
And I have to find myself, I got to give myself more time. Like, okay, when we get together for our podcast episodes, I find that if I give myself an extra 10 minutes to get here, I go, okay, well, it should take me 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself, instead of cutting it, how shall we say? Instead of cutting it to the quick, we're going to cut it maybe a lot. We're going to give myself more time.
Sure.
And so I kind of like that. But again, self-regulation. All right. Start recognizing these emotions and start... okay, it's easy to say this. It is super hard to do. But if we can work on these triggers that cause us to feel hurt.
Right.
And if we can recognize them and start processing why we feel that way when these things happen, maybe it might help us reduce that anxiety when these things happen again, which can then, of course, go back to helping us work on the insecurities we might have in our current relationship.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, I thought it was kind of interesting. So here's the thing. one of the things that I think that works best, it has taken me a super long time, and I'm still not perfect at it, but that is to communicate my expectations, but communicate them both honestly and kindly.
Well, I mean, I think this is, is there anybody who does communicate properly and well and, every time?
Oh, heck no.
No, right. We all have problems with communication. I think it's a nature of humanity that we just, we have these selfish moments and we have our own thoughts and things and ideals about how things should be done. And so we have a difficulty in communicating sometimes because emotions get in the way and all the things. So it takes a lot of effort, right, to do things like switch from negative presuppositions to positive ones. To think about how we speak before we speak it. And to take the other person into consideration before we make a decision or do a thing or, take that action. I mean, there's whole religions that have these things as their main tenets, right? Like it. So, and most religions are pretty old. So this is not a new thing. It's just we just still struggle with it, even though we have all the knowledge. That you're talking about, right? I mean, people, you having a master's degree and a certification in counseling, and you're saying you still have some trouble with this. So it's it's not something that anybody has down.
Oh, absolutely. And so many times when we're dealing with when these feelings and emotions come up, it triggers our emotional part of our brain, the right side of our brain, which is all, well, shall we say, lower brain functioning.
Yeah.
Our left brain is our logic brain.
Right.
Well, when an emotion will override logic every single time. The goal is for us to try and lessen how much time they control.
Right.
Or the emotion part of our brain is in control. And because a lot of times, when you're having these kinds of feelings, these insecure feelings with, about your relationship, with your partner, how many of those do you then chide yourself for overreacting? Or, oh, I'm just overreacting to this. Oh, it's not that big a deal. Or, oh, I'm feeling maybe it's just my neediness. Well, again, it goes back to communicate.
Right.
Communicate. And this is something that I still have to work on. But when I communicate, and a lot of times when things are going bad, or, not that they always go bad, but when, something's happening at home or has happened at home, I got to remember, don't respond right now. Take a breath. Let's wait 5 minutes. Let's wait 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll wait half a day. Sometimes I might even wait a full 24 hours. Yeah. And then I will go and I'll ask Sherry, hey, is it good? Now you got a few minutes to talk. I want to talk about what happened yesterday. I want to talk about what happened earlier today. In which case, my logic brain is now working a lot harder than my emotional brain. And I can communicate my honest feelings and we can talk this out.
Right.
And using logic so that way, there again, when you're dealing with when your emotional brain is taken over, then that's when Mr. Nasty comes to play.
Sure.
And I got to tell you, I have a very strong Mr. Nasty personality, and I hate when he comes to play, because when he's done playing, there's nothing but chaos and catastrophe in his wake.
Yeah.
And so the more I can control his appearance, then the better things go for me.
Right.
So again, another thing that is important for us to consider when we're dealing with these issues of insecurity in our relationship is to try and set healthy boundaries, and not only set those healthy boundaries, but also honor them. Honor them for yourself. Honor them for your partner.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And it's something that, we had to work out in our own marriage and with friends and stuff too, so it's a really important thing because you have to have space and time and all those things. So,
well, and everybody's going to have a different set of boundaries because we all got different personalities.
Yeah.
But when you're setting these boundaries, they're actually for you. They're allowing you to have a safe, well, how should we say, a safe place to play, a safe space in which to operate. And because how many times do we set boundaries and then we step over those boundaries because, well, we accept maybe something we really don't want to accept, whether it's at work or with our kids or with our partners, we overforgive. Well, the more we overforgive and move away from our boundaries, how much does that then lead to that jealousy, that anger, that frustration that causes then the conflict?
Yeah, I think oftentimes probably the bigger problem is that we allow other people to step over those boundaries, right? Yeah. We allow them to take up time and space in our lives that was not supposed to happen. And that sounds bad, right? Because you want relationship. But there is a point where somebody can be taken over too much, right? And taking too much of your time and too much and, causing distraction and loss of focus and just maybe driving you towards serving them as opposed to, you living your life. So there's lots of issues, I think, there with those boundaries. I think when I think of boundaries, right, I think of the idea of, so, back in the day, we used to have houses, especially in New England and probably Pennsylvania, when you lived there, right? Like, there would be houses in a neighborhood, and they would have like picket fences, right? And there would be picket fences around the yard, right? And so that's great because kids could go out and play in the yard and not get run over in the road, right? And so you think, well, the picket fence, is restricting my freedom. Well, not really, right? Because if you run out into the road, you're going to die. So your picket fence is actually providing you that safety and security, that boundary that says, go this far and not farther, right? That doesn't mean you can't cross it. There's always a gate.
Sure.
Right? But then you are cautious as you make that crossing for whatever reason. But those boundaries provide that child and the parents with that safety and security and things to operate freely within that space. And that's what I always think of when I think of boundaries.
Now, these are not my words. I'm going to quote. All right. I found this quote. It says, healthy boundaries ensure you are protecting and respecting your own energy. They are not meant to punish or control, but rather nurture your heart and fill your own cup first.
Which is important, right? Because if you think about when I hear that statement, fill your own cup first. If you don't fill your own cup, what good are you in the relationship?
Oh, yeah.
Think of an airline, right? Most people have flown, right? So you get on the airplane and they have those instructions that nobody listens to. Part of those instructions, if you remember from the one time that you did listen, says that if the oxygen masks come down, secure yours first before helping anybody else.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because if you don't, you might pass out before you can help your kid or the person next to you.
And now you've got two dead people instead of one.
It only takes a few seconds for people to get hypoxia. So, like, you got to put that mask on so that you're okay. And even if they've passed out, you can put the mask on them and they'll come back.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to be prepared and ready and full to be able to be useful to yourself and others.
Thank you. When I first came across that quote, that's exactly what I thought of too. And so, and everybody's going to have different sets of boundaries because we all have our own experiences and we have our own tolerances. So the boundaries aren't going to look the same for everybody. But you're right.
Yeah.
Making them, maintaining them. I know back in our divorce group, that was a big thing of setting and establishing boundaries.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons that led to relationship failures and people showing up at our divorce group was unhealthy or unset boundaries.
Right.
So, because here's the thing. If it is hard to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it is truly and indeed definitely work.
Yeah, it is.
But we are social people. Humans are very sociable.
Yes, they are.
We thrive and succeed way better when we are when we have good contact with other people.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're never going to avoid arguments. You're never going to avoid disagreements. You're not going to live in nirvana.
Right.
It doesn't exist. The goal, I think, here is when we're in relationships, stop working or thinking or focusing on all the negatives.
Yeah.
And self-doubt and, second guessing yourself. And so I guess that's why I was intrigued by all of this, because I've done this myself. Even though Sherry and I have a very strong relationship.
Yeah.
There are times where I have self-doubt. I ask questions of, did I really do the right thing here? Am I doing the right thing? Should I speak up? Did I overstep boundaries? Did I speak up when I should have remained silent? I mean, all these kinds of things.
Well, and I think that, I experienced that too, right? But
yeah,
given that we're in our 33rd year of marriage, right? Like, so it's some of that we've filtered out of some of that because we know each other so well, right? But, where you're in a situation that a lot of people are in, where you've had this blended family situation, you've both been divorced and you come back together, and so I think that brings its own dynamics of, am I doing the right thing, right? And I think that's maybe even more complicated than my situation. So, I don't really know what that's like. Hopefully, I never do, but. A lot of people are in that situation, and I hear people say that that's tough. Like, I don't know what to do. And in that case, the two partners have different philosophies sometimes, or different thoughts of how to handle things, or, the children, one person wants it to be one way, one person wants it to be the other. And am I doing the right thing at the time? Maybe you're not in the same room at the time and you have to make a decision, and now you don't know. I mean, there's stuff like that I can imagine, but
Well, and that's where it's important for us to build what is considered self-compassion. So many times we can self-criticize. And so the idea of, you're just being so insecure, and we criticize ourselves. Okay, well, now we're adding anxiety on top of everything else.
Right.
And it's kind of like, okay, here's the thing. That's where it comes back to communication. Talk, have your boundaries. Say, after you've had time to think and reflect, all right, then go to your partner and say, hey, is now a good time to talk? Or do or when, if the answer is not now, when can we talk about what happened?
Sure.
And set that up. And I mean, here's the thing. I think that we like a lot of reassurance that we're doing the right thing. I mean, how many times I've seen anyway, when you're talking to or working with children, reassure them, let them know. Let them feel the strength to stretch out and try different and new things that, they're secure. Okay. But when you're in a relationship, do you need to constantly have that same thing? Because if you're constantly needing reassurance that you're doing the right thing, well, then maybe that might be part of the problem.
Right.
Have enough self-confidence that you're doing your right thing. But then again, that's where those boundaries come into play.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like I said, it's super easy to have the self-doubt. It is super easy to begin to question. But if we work on our own self-worth, our own self-reliance, I think we can overcome these feelings of insecurity that damage and destroy our relationships.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I say, I know it is tough. Really, again, as I said before, relationships are constantly needing work, kind of like roads. You build them, but just because you build them once doesn't mean that you can ignore them. Well, I think this is the same thing.
Well, I mean, just like anything that's growing, right? Like, so if you think of like a tree or a plant, I mean, it grows, it gets bigger. You have to prune it. You have to keep tending to it. So it's the same thing with a relationship. Relationships grow, they get deeper, they grow deeper roots, but it still needs tending. So, that never ends. And I think most of the traditional marriage vows would recognize that as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it's just something that you have to keep on doing. And sometimes it gets easier and sometimes it doesn't. But, the fact of the matter is that if you love that person, if you want to be with that person, if you want to be in relationship with that person, you'll do what it takes.
Yes. And to be there for them, you got to take care of you as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got.
That's awesome.
So now all I have to do is make sure I practice what I preach.
Yeah. Well, this is an ongoing thing. So.
Yes, it is. So anyway, well, many happy, joyous opportunities as you build new relationships with a new school year.
It'll be fun.
So, all right. Well, until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.